Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back. It is exactly 8:57 a.m. We're going to have a short, sharp interview with community activist Imraahn Mukaddam about the gangsterism on the Cape Flats. This time around, particularly in the ElsiesRiver Community Police Forum, who are extremely concerned that the senseless killing of young men in the community is continuing. And this is absolutely unabated. So, where are our police and what exactly is happening in that part of South Africa? Imraahn Mukaddam, Salaam Alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah, and to the listeners of Salam Media as well.
Do you think anything at all can be done to address the situation? It's a very long and ongoing issue. Gangsterism in the Western Cape, and I know you're going to talk about drug cartels, drug abuse, drug pet, human trafficking. That all falls under the. You're probably going to talk about territorial wars, etc. Is there anything at all that people like you as a community and social activist can do, and the community to come together? Wholesale murder.
Yeah, the biggest challenge that we have at the moment in ElsiesRiver is that our police station is undermanned and under-resourced. So that causes a very big vacuum in terms of law enforcement. Another issue that we have is that the city of Cape Town has deployed a huge amount of law enforcement officers, but none of those resources are made available on a consistent basis to the ElsiesRiver area. And we are not seen as a priority area because at times our area quiets down, and in other times when the violence resurges, there isn't enough forces available to respond to that. So there's this big vacuum in terms of law enforcement. And then also, we we have this gang culture that we're trying to work with and trying to eradicate in our community. And it's just when it's school holidays, then you have the gang initiation season, and then the violence just escalates. We also have a serious problem with guns being flooded onto the Cape Flats. Enormous amounts of firearms are being released into the hands of very young boys, 15, 16, 17-year-old. So in essence, we're creating child soldiers, and the psychological impact of perpetrating such kind of violence and killing, that in itself destroys a child and creates, this kind of senseless and ruthless killers that doesn't think anything of taking another person's life, because they've been so desensitized by all the violence that they are exposed to on a continuous basis.
I can't even begin to imagine how dire the situation must be. You talk about desensitization. It's frightening that these young, innocent people who aren't even in adulthood, they're just beginning to enter adulthood. This is what they're exposed to and think that it is normal. What needs to be done? And lots does need to be done. The problem is so deep. Where do you even begin to try and address the issue? Because you need to go to the root cause. And ElsiesRiver is a working class area. You kind of wonder, where do these people get the money to buy those guns? Is it through drug deals? How does this all come onto the market?
Well, the biggest source of income for gangs at the moment on the Cape Flats is extortion. So we're having a serious problem with we have a huge number of spaza shops in our more densely populated areas, and all of these spaza shops are forced to pay protection to these gangs. So there's a lot of money in circulation in terms of the cash flow. Drugs is not as lucrative as it was, say, 10 years ago, because it's so also so flooding the market for that commodity. So we have that issue. Yeah, and what can be done? I think the most important thing is to focus on catching the youth before they become vulnerable. So um, I I'm the CEO of an organization called Inspire Network, and our focus is really to work with young boys from the age of 10, 11, 12, and try and redirect their focus to become productive citizens instead of looking at gangsterism as the only alternative. So I think the best place to make a real change that you can maybe see in 5 6 years time is to try and get as many of these young boys that are at risk off the streets and into diversion programs where they can be learned skills to cope with the kind of challenges that they face, which includes poverty, includes a lot of social violence, which includes gender-based violence. So our young men, especially, are exposed to a lot of violence as they grow up, and I think uh, from our approach is that we can make a difference if we catch them young enough.
Just give me an idea of what those diversion programs look like. I should imagine some form of upskilling and also a lot of psychological counseling for them to value themselves and realize that they are precious and that they can make a difference. Otherwise, I suppose the question they ask themselves is, so what's the point of it all?
Well, what we do is we have a few projects. One of these are the Dignity Project. But what we do is expose these youngsters to the alternatives. That there is a real life outside of the townships. There is a different way of life. We expose them to pursue skills. A lot of these kids drop out at school from grade 7, grade 8, and then we have to sort of get them reintegrated. And remember, if a child has been out of school for 2 years, you can't put him in the same grade that he left school, because he's 2 years older than his peers and he's been exposed to all this violence on the streets and so on. So it's a really a huge challenge. Um, but we are working on developing diversion programs. It's still in its infant stage, the program itself, but there is interest from government departments. There's interest from some international donors as well. So we're looking at setting up a sort of a camp kind of environment where we take these young boys and we expose them to nature. We expose them to their own culture, especially in the colored communities. We don't have a culture of initiation into puberty and after puberty into adulthood, like we have in our more African indigenous communities. So we really need to find a process that initiates these young men into adulthood with a sense of responsibility and with a sense of dignity and belief in themselves, because the opponents that they are killing are their cousins and their friends that they've been to school with, or their
Sure.
neighbors in the same road. So it's mirror images of themselves that they are destroying. So it comes from a place of deep hate, and we need to find that place and reorientate them to become proper human beings with strong sense of dignity and strong sense of compassion, and this can only come about through real interventions with psychologists, with trauma counselors, and with um, mentors and role models and pastors and imams and priests. All need to play a role in really changing these young boys and taking them away from being this easily recruitable source for the gangs to perpetuate the stupid, you know, warfare that absolutely makes
Absolutely.
no sense at all.
So, in the meantime, whilst you're waiting for this program to take off, when do you believe it will be fully fledged enough to introduce it? What are you doing with these youngsters?
Well, we are doing interventions at schools. We are working with youth at risk. We are helping educators identify youth at risk, and we are working with a number of NGOs on a very small scale. But it's early days yet. But as we progress, we will develop these programs, and there is, like I said, buy-in from a number of stakeholders that this is the way to go, and that you need intervention earlier than waiting for these young boys to be criminalized first, and then um, opt for getting them into diversion programs. So this is where we're at the moment. Is really looking at you know catching them before they fall.
Time for thank you indeed. Much duas that this takes off in a big way so that we can reclaim our streets and give a future to our lost children, inshallah. Thank you indeed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all your efforts.
Shukran, and to the listeners, Salam Media as well. We will be giving updates as we progress, and this definitely will be a worthy cause to support in the long run as well.
Inshallah, we will keep a constant contact with you to get regular updates because it is important, and hopefully, the model that you introduce on the Cape Flats can be replicated in the rest of the country, inshallah.